This is a performance review of the updated Audi RS3, that famous 5-cylinder. How good is it? What have they changed? And how different is it to the recently facelifted Audi S3, which you can also find here on Autogefühl. We're going to tell you all about it with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new front mask that now leads over a little bit more to the headlamps. More black, high gloss black here, also wider here in these gaps inside the grille. The Audi rings, they are always dark for the RS3. In the S3 you could also still get bright rings. And I say it is rather better to go for the bright ones. This looks a little bit more sinister, but when you are in front of the vehicle, look in the back mirror and you look then to this dark mask, and with the dark rings you can hardly see these dark rings. And yeah, then you see, wait a minute, what brand is it? And I think when they are bright, it more looks directly, okay, that's an Audi, you know what I mean? Then also updated lamps here. You can get normal LED or here the matrix LED, and you can also set individual signatures. Here this is like the checkered flag signature, and I think that's of course fitting to that very vehicle. We have a strong red color and we have the optional carbon fiber package. There, for example, we have these carbon fiber accentuations here at the side. The length 4,53 meters or 178 inches here for the sedan. It's also available as the hatch with 4,38 meters or 172 inches. And in Germany, for example, the hatch is really popular with the A3, the so-called Kurzheck, we would say, but some Germans now also nowadays say hatch to that one here. You have a more practical trunk opening, but yet again here the sedan has a more fluent form. To me, I like the sedan styling more, but it's a matter of preference. And of course this one here, it doesn't have the better access to the trunk, but the trunk itself is longer. So it's definitely pro and con. And from the weight distribution, the sedan is actually a little bit better because you have some more weight at the rear, and this is actually good for balancing things out. But yeah, will just play a role on the racetrack maybe. 19-inch wheels are standard, different designs here. This like this matte-ish black design here, for example. Massive brake calipers here, of course performance brakes, and they have worked on the setup. On the suspension you get an adaptive suspension as standard, which you can actively also control from the inside. And there's also an updated brake torque vectoring, that you have a distribution of the braking powers when getting into a corner. And then there's also a torque vectoring at the rear axle for acceleration, because power from front to the rear, and at the rear axle then it is then decided that there's more torque on the curved outer wheel. And first of all, it pushes you in the corner, then it pushes you out of the corner with these systems. So you can be quicker actually, and they also scored a new Nürburgring Nordschleife hot lap with that one. At the rear you have the updated tail lamps, and when you have the matrix LED, you also have cascading turning indicators, both in the rear and in the front. That looks pretty amazing. We also have here a very accentuated rear lip, in this case then with the carbon fiber on the top and also in the lower part. If that's too much, you don't have to go for it. And also here with these vertical reflectors then here in the middle part of that diffuser, and you can also get an RS Sports exhaust. Yeah, but the Autogefühl fake exhaust police is there for you, because the outside is the exhaust tip, then the rear exhaust is on the inside. Under the hood, the big difference to the S3, which was also recently updated, 2-liter 4-cylinder there. Here in the RS3 you get a 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine with 400 horsepower. Wow, look at that. Still transverse mount, it's a transverse platform with front-wheel drive, and additionally all-wheel drive for the performance versions, for example. That's why you send also power to the rear wheels. And then here with the torque vectoring, you make it less front-wheel bias, and we'll see how much we can feel from that on the racetrack. 3.8 seconds is the acceleration figure here. Key fob, really nice. And here we have the bright Audi rings, the Lord of the Rings, and the RS for racing Sauron. And then here the door closing sound, actually quite solid. Yeah, like that. You got that was a joke, right? The Audi guys will probably call me for that. Then here, inside of the doors, then yeah, it's like rather hard, I would say, maybe like a little bit structured. Then here we have the nice microfiber, and it's also perforated because the ambient lighting will shine from the background of that. I like this door handle here. You use 2 fingers and then you open it like this from the inside. It looks funny, yes, definitely, but I think it's a cool ergonomic solution, actually. Then also nice window levers here with clicking sounds, 2 levels, 2 steps, and then here.
You hear it right now.
Yeah. That's the problem, what I always say, when there's no felt covering from the inside, then it sounds like this while driving also. That's the thing. Then RS3 entry badge, that looks cool. And we have a new steering wheel. You have everything dark here at this moment, but when you actually activate the ignition, there we go, then you have the backlit buttons right here, and you have 2 settings for the RS mode, like an RS button and here a left side performance button, right side RS button, and you can individualize them, what they actually mean for you, to be able to switch to a very sporty driving mode directly then on the steering wheel. That's cool. There's also a microfiber steering wheel available that I would actually recommend. Then as for the seats, on the European market you can get the microfiber here, which is pretty cool for the inside. This is here the bucket seat, and that's an option for the European market, and it's not available for the Northern American market. And actually that's an advantage for our guys in the US and Canada, because this seat here, it looks amazing. No doubt about that, but it's really uncomfortable. And I think there are several reasons for that. It's really short. It's super narrow here in this area. And I mean, I'm quite tall, but I'm not the biggest guy. And if you think then if someone is a little bit bigger, maybe even, you don't really fit in the seat. And also, like the inclination, it is super high in the front, like from the angle. And that kind of like puts my spine, you know, like a scissor together, and it's super uncomfortable. So I cannot recommend this seat here at all. There is the base sport seat available. We can also use an overlay here. In the EU, again, available with the microfiber. I would go for that one. Sadly, once again, on the US market, they only offer animal skin. And that is Audi, from all the brands, together with Rolls-Royce, is the brand that's lacking most behind this development to make car interiors more animal friendly. And then here with 189, 6'2", still have enough headroom left. And yeah, besides that, seating position a little bit weird, but it's better in the normal sport seats, I can tell you. Then here, steering wheel up and down, in and out. And you might have seen one of the most crucial points next to the Audi rings on the outside. By the way, for a German, sometimes a little bit critical to differentiate between wings and rings with R. So sorry about that. I do my best. Here, you can see the rings are really 2-dimensional on the steering wheel. Yeah, and definitely when they are 3-dimensional, you can feel them like in the previous generations. It just looks more classy. Cockpit overview, cleaned up, horizontal stress, nice sounds here also when I control the air vents, for example. Then we have the microfiber dash here. Although I have to say, from the microfiber quality, it could be a little bit better, because it looks already a little bit older. I think they should apply a thicker microfiber surface to that one here at that price range. Then here, sliding down with this one, nicely dampened. And the screen, we hardly see that nowadays anymore. The screen here is integrated. It doesn't pop up like a huge thing on the top there. Still a nice integration. And also one of my favorite things, this is still a manual climate unit here with clicking sounds for fan speed and for the temperature. Also when you activate seat heating. Beautiful. I could do this all day, actually. Now Leah again thinks like he's completely out of his mind. Yeah, but that's what I do. So yeah, it's just awesome. The feedback on the sound and also on the haptic side you get when pressing this seat heating. And this is what premium cars are about, and not about putting everything in the screen and there's no feedback like car or no interaction between driver and car anymore. This is here still giving me the feel of, hey, they paid a lot of attention to designing a proper premium interior. That's what I appreciate about these previous generation Audis and not like maybe the all new ones. That's what I think about it. Tell me your opinion. Then a lot of high gloss black here. There I would wish for an alternative to just have less high gloss black. This is interesting, by the way. This is like a volume control, which is a capacitive, and this is like less, and the other way around is more. So do you want to do that while driving? I doubt so. Dual clutch transmission. It's the shifting lever right here and P there. 2 USB-C chargers in the front. Inductive charging pad is not cooled. So when I put my iPhone there, it just takes a couple of minutes. It stops charging and overheats. So it either needs to be cooled, or what I usually prefer is don't use it at all. Use the cable connection for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Don't trust on the wireless one, and just put it like with the screen on the inductive charger, so it doesn't do the inductive charging and it's just everything doing with the inductive one. The normal drive select would be here in the lower part when I click it here in the lower left part, but it does give a nice ding feedback. But here, for example, I pressed it twice now. At first it didn't appear, just in the second time it appeared, and then it appears just for a few seconds and it goes away. And I don't really understand that, not the best solution. However, here in the RS3, there of course it's, so to speak, no problem, because I have the buttons here at the steering wheel where I can directly hop to a sporty RS mode. Then we have adaptive cup holders here. They are good quality, so that's a nice build quality indeed. Microfiber cover of this armrest. Slide it up, you can also do it forward, and some space underneath. That's really nice. So the overall build quality of this cabin is very, very good indeed. That's why I love it. Driver POV, once again, the two-dimensional Audi rings. Okay, not my favorite, as I said. Here then the cool buttons once again, here for the performance mode or for the RS mode. And you can individualize them here on the infotainment system, what you want to have then as the individual features for each mode. And the performance mode doesn't have so many settings. The RS individual mode has some more settings to set then, for example. Then the clicking feedback is actually quite nice on the steering wheel. However, also with illumination, but it is one capacitive, #capacitive BS field. So one button field and then capacitive recognition of what you are actually pressing. The instruments are actually pretty nice, clear to read. I like these views, for example, here. You also have the map here of the racetrack at the moment, and this with a large RPM meter view. I soon going to show you different settings for that as well. And then we also have a head-up display here. Don't look at the fire extinguisher. I'm showing the head-up display. Yeah. It's always smaller on camera than it actually is. So here on the right side in the infotainment system, I do prefer this main infotainment view, basically these classic menus. But usually it starts up then with this, and this is, I think, what should I do with that then? It's kind of strange. I would always like to have this one actually as a startup. And here, for example, if you then go to the settings and then display and brightness, and here Audi Virtual Cockpit, then you can, and this is here for the facelift, like this rev counter view, which I'll just show to you, but you can also go to runway. This is then maybe more racing alike. Now Leah is helping us with the performance view. There we go. Or the classic sport view if you rather prefer it like that. I like that one too, actually. So I would probably use this one, or then again this new rev counter view. Which one would you prefer?
I think the performance one.
The performance one?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
So this then
It's different than the other.
Leah's choice for today. Rear seats. Here, first of all, hard pack material on the top part. You still have the nice door handles here that are kind of like, coming from above. So this is actually quite nice. Also very dramatic, dynamic design here. And also hard pack here in the lower part, everything. So at that price, I feel that should be a little bit more premium, shouldn't it? At least we have some microfiber right here. And then the rear seats, we have ISOFIX for the racing kits in the rear. You slide these on top and then you can also put them back again. We also have the nice microfiber pattern here on the seats. And I really have to say, it's more comfortable in the rear seats than in the front, at least when you consider these bucket seats here. Then headroom here with the sedan does exactly fit with 189 602, but nothing more. You can put down this here then for cup holders, good quality. They are also adaptive for the rear. That's really nicely done. Yeah, but the legroom is of course the problem here in this compact segment, and this like the heart, I mean, it looks great here with the carbon fiber with these bucket seats, but it will be a little bit more flexible with the normal sport seats because they don't have this really hard background. You see, it does not really fit for my legs here. I have to spread the legs a little bit here that it fits somehow. 2 USB-C chargers here in the lower part than here. There's the middle tunnel, and can I also sit in the middle part here? A little bit harder, and yeah, definitely not recommend that. And here, as a comparison, the normal sport seats in the rear, then you have this recess here, so that fits better with the knees then. Still not much legroom, and also when you put the knees here to the side, then at least it's soft here, but it doesn't change the real length, but it's just better how you can put your knees like inside or then here on the outside. And the headroom with the hatch, by the way, here is actually a little bit better than with the sedan, but yeah, comparable, but it continues a little bit further to the rear. Trunk or boot, let's check it out here with the sedan. Typical sedan opening, closed off trunk. Then here the cabin trolley also fits in a vertical way. And here we have like a meter or 40 inches in width, also deeper, and then it's longer than with the hatch here. The trunk is also about a meter or 40 inches in length, and then here 44 centimeters or about 17 inches in height. Underneath, see here they have put the starter battery here, and this is also good for the weight distribution actually. And then to fold the seats we actually have to go around either here the ski hatch, just the middle part, this is possible, or then 2/3 1/3 like this, and the total length then the front seat then is 165 in meters or 65 inches. Oh yes, and Leah discovered here this bag hanger you can fold down. Oh, and it's even dampened here when it goes back. Ooh. Here the hatch trunk, this was the sedan trunk here, and this is here about 20 centimeters or 7 inches less in length with the hatch. However, then you have this opening here, so this is then more practical. You can put in higher things and also easier. So this then, yeah, I think at the end of the day, maybe it's shorter, but also better usable here with the hatch. Welcome everyone. This is the Audi RS3 in the facelift. Woo. And we're in the performance mode, also with the ESC Sport. And this was your launch control here for today. Wow, great in the performance indeed. There we go. So this one does go very well. That 5-cylinder engine. This is of course then really different to an S3. You just have so much more performance there, and really nicely on the gas. Have a very precise steering feel. We also have here in this very race car then the Alcantara or the Epica. Not sure what it is actually more, but the microfiber steering wheel. Here also hard again on the gas, and it feels actually, let's say, a little bit loose, especially here in the ESC Sport mode, so you can play with the car a little bit. Here once again 150 kilometers an hour. They built here a small chicane in there, but this vehicle is very light and agile. So there's also difference to, let's say, bigger sports cars, or also when we have an SUV on the racetrack or something like that. This one here is really balanced in the handling, I would say. That's what I really like. And also, there we go, how you can smoothly get out of the corner again. That's pretty cool. So here, look at the steering angle movement I do, and then also how I get out of the corners again in the corners. There's a brake torque vectoring, and also then torque vector at the rear axle when accelerating. So here when I'm, for example, in the corner, and then at the exit of the corner, and when I'm on the gas again, actually, there we go. Oh, there was a little bit of, from that engine. So the torque vectoring is actually enabling more torque on the curved outer wheel, and it kind of like pushes me out of the corner. That's the thing, because this is here not like the A3, not like initially a rear wheel driven platform. So you have to do things to make it less front wheel biased. It's more hard on the gas and also hard on the brakes. Good braking performance, good feeling for the vehicle as well. Yeah, I really love this balanced and smooth handling, and that the car is really feeling light. So, I mean, we do test a lot of vehicles also on the racetrack, and my problem is that more and more vehicles are getting heavier and heavier and heavier due to all the technology they put inside, and that's why I really appreciate when a car is still not that heavy, you know what I mean? There we go. Of course, here in this performance mode I have activated, I always have a lower gear selected, so there we go. You can easier get out of the corner again, and yeah, I mean, we have the all-wheel drive here, but I really feel that we have enough power always on the rear wheels, and also with that torque vectoring, that it can get really in a sporty way out of the corner. And look at that performance here, 160 kilometers an hour, and here through the chicane speed. And you hear a lot of the engine, of course, and more than you would from the S3, but maybe also a rear cross traffic alert. That's interesting. Yeah, the assistance systems are still in this vehicle there. A little bit wet here from the night moist still on the track in this very morning here. Castelloli Racetrack, it's like near Sitges in Spain, close to Barcelona. It's a very nice racetrack, and they also have a very fresh tarmac here, so you can get great speeds here. Wow, that is a lot of fun. Look at that. These bucket seats, they are holding me tight. Yes, so in that case they are really nice in a way. Then I have to say my lower back is already hurting, so I would say even if you're on the racetrack, I would still go with the normal seats than with the Dynamica, because I don't know, they are like too high in the front, and they're like folding my lower back lumbar area like a scissor in a way, you know. One more time passing Lea, she's taking some shots from the outside there. I asked her to join me here on the racetrack, but she said it's maybe not too good for her heart, and I also don't want to make her join me here on the racetrack, because I can tell you, being passenger on the racetrack is a horrible experience usually, because you cannot hold onto the steering wheel, you cannot really cope with all the G-force and so on. So as a driver, you know what you're doing, you feel what the next step is, and you can hold onto the steering wheel. That's why it's way easier than for a driver to be on that racetrack. Oh, there we go. So here in these tight corners, nice, a little bit on the pegs there, and then you feel that the rear is being pushed around just a little bit, and you also have a very safe feeling for the car. So that's a very good thing. You don't have to be like the most professional race driver to cope with this vehicle. That's really nice, definitely. Here's really close then with the straight here, so I have to see that we don't get too much to the left side here actually. There we go. And I still have the very same feeling for the brakes also after these laps. That's pretty nice as well. There we go, close in the corner. Open the steering wheel, on the gas. There we go. And yeah, you feel that they have set everything more on the sportiness with this facelift upgrade here. It's not that it would be a completely different car. And if you have the pre-facelift, no, you do not need the post-facelift in that respect. But you see that on the Nürburgring Nordschleife with their record lap, they could improve it by a couple of seconds. And that also means a lot in racing terms. So especially from the whole setup here, there's always an area where probably maybe a little bit traction loss from the red road or something like that. It's really interesting. But definitely you feel a little bit more spiced up, a little bit sportier. Pretty cool experience. What about some normal driving life? Well, you can also spice that one up. That's of course the main purpose of this vehicle, not really on the racetrack, although as you've seen, it does it very well there on the racetrack. And the first thing you notice, these optional bucket seats, which are, you have to say gladly, not available on the Northern American market, they are not really suitable for everyday driving life. Maybe so for the racetrack, yeah, this is like an advantage, but for the normal comfort driving, the normal sport seats will definitely be way better, especially if you're tall, because yeah, I feel like I'm totally like too much caged in. I'm sitting too high in the vehicle. It's too short, too narrow in the lower part and everything. So I would definitely get the comfort seats then. Would also go with the comfort driving mode usually. Then here when you have some humps in the road, they are a little bit less forgiving. And if you consider the difference to an S3, they definitely paid attention that this difference is now once again a little bit bigger, because they kind of had a problem. Since the new S3 also gets the torque vectoring at the rear, it moved closer to the RS3, and then you might think, what do I need the RS3 for? Yes, that 5-cylinder engine, that would be the main reason. And now they set everything on a sportier and stiffer note, so it's quicker on the Nürburgring Nordschleife in the hot lap. And you also feel it when driving it normally, that an S3 has more performance, but you can more or less drive it like any other Audi A3 in your everyday driving life. Here the RS3, you start driving and you immediately feel that this is a sports car, and it is a difference, you know. So the S3, I would say you can drive without any, any bad compromise or something. So you do not lose comfort. With the RS3 here, you do lose comfort in driving, period. And you would go for that one if you don't care and you appreciate that it is that way sportier, and you hear when there's something on the road and so on, and you feel the road more. If you don't want that, get an S3, enjoy the performance there, and that you have the same comfort. If you want to feel every inch of the road and appreciate that sportiness also on your way to work, then it is the RS3 for you. And what I find really great is that it's also so smooth again in the driving, and even in the comfort mode, you feel the sportiness already a little bit, although the suspension is more forgiving. And once again, since this button down there, the drive select is really low, and then also, yeah, you click it and it takes a while until that stuff appears in the screen, and to me that's
away in
2 seconds,
yeah.
and that's it. And yeah, that's not really ideal. So here I'm really appreciating that I can just click the RS button on the steering wheel, then I'm in the sporty mode, and for example when there's the next motorway here and I want to accelerate hard on it, that's it. Woo! And that is a lot of fun. And one more click there if you want to have some more comfort. Then again,
Oh wow, it's so loud.
that's
Wow.
fine.
Crazy.
That is also definitely a difference then to an S3. You have, of course, even more sound performance there. Wow. At the same time, you can go back to the comfort mode, and then here when the road is fine, it's also actually quite nice here on the motorway, and you can enjoy all of the normal modern features, like also a cruise control. It's set here with the separate column. Interestingly, this very vehicle is not spec'd with active lane keeping assist, so here it reacts pretty late because it's just a lane departure warning. Yeah, but sometimes the active lane keeping assists are also a little bit annoying, and then maybe you even don't want that. What's pretty cool is that here on the favorite button, you can easily set here this activation or deactivation of the speed limit shine, which is a thing in the EU now, that you exceed the speed by 1 kilometer an hour and you get the 3 beeping chime. Yeah, and you can easily deactivate it here also with setting it on the steering wheel. At least you do get some clicking feedback here when you click something on the steering wheel, so that's actually nice. Although the non-capacitive buttons that were before are actually more likable, I feel. So suspension-wise, here on the motorway, it's doing a great job, and that is also a very good feeling. You can also drive at high speeds on the motorways with a lot of fun. That's fine. I think the most limiting comfort factor are indeed these bucket seats, so it will be way better with the normal sport seats, and then if you can get it on the market, go with the microfiber. So this one will be the most comfortable setup. The steering also in normal driving life is really fantastic. It is really precise and it's not too hard. At the same time, it gives you enough feedback, and even in the comfort mode, here, see how I follow the road and the angle of the steering wheel almost copies the road. I would, I would take it that way, and that's really lovely. So that's also something that what I felt earlier on the racetrack, that all the transitions between the corners, getting in the corner, getting out of the corner, is so extremely smooth, and I really love that. And at the same time, of course, even if you're on the comfort mode, you can at any time hammer the throttle and you have the performance. Holy moly, holy moly. Woo. Yeah, it comes, all here is like, oh my God, the heartbeat like spiked through the roof. And the interesting thing is really that you don't expect that when this vehicle is in comfort mode, so it's kind of calm and everything, and then bang, hammer it in. And let's see, there is the tunnel. We can also shift down ourselves, of course. Yeah, that 5-cylinder is definitely more audible than the S3 4-cylinder counterpart. Here in the tunnel, by the way, some ambient lighting in the lower area and also at the inside of the doors, for example. A consumption without racetrack, like normal driving, cruise control motorway, like a ideal minimum consumption is like 9 liters on 100 kilometers, 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. Of course, a little bit worse each when you really use that power. In the Northern American market, it's all about the sedan. The hatch is not available, and this one starts at $62,000, 68,000 euros in Germany, for example, and the hatch is 2,000 euros less expensive. However, that's like the base thing. Of course, this one here is equipped with more extras, so you can easily add 10, 20,000 euros or dollars for extras, for example. So definitely not a cheap one, but I mean, you can also get these 2-liter 4-cylinders in the S3 or a Golf R or something to really ridiculous prices. So then you might say, hey, instead of full specking the one below, I already get the 5-cylinder. That might be an idea you might want to have also. Yeah, what do you think about it? Tell me about your experience. How do you perceive the difference from the video RS3 to the S3? Check it out right now, or the Golf R.